Okay, let's start. So today we have the best gaming company and best application players here. So here's Sebastien, Sascha, Mable. Yeah, my name is Ryan from Hashed. We are like crypto fund. We have been investing to crypto since 2016. Now we are breaching like West and East, especially we heavily investing into application layer. So, Sascha, you can start your introduction, please.
Okay. Hello. Quick introduction by myself. So I'm the CEO and co-founder at the Sandbox, as well as the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. Sandbox, it's a decentralized virtual world where like anyone can become a creator, make 3D content, as well as full experiences and games, mint them as NFT, truly own them, exchange them, monetize them the way they want.
Okay, Sascha.
My name is Sascha. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Parallel. Parallel is a trading card game and sci-fi world that's in closed beta, and that's what I do.
Mable.
Yes, great to be here. My name is Mable. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Find Satoshi Lab. We are a next-generation Web3 entertainment and social studio. Our flagship product is STEPN, and followed by More, which is our non-custodial NFT marketplace, as well as our upcoming game, SLG, called Gas Hero.
Yeah, so before like going into your story, so can you more like emphasize your uniqueness? What is special for your project? Mable, you can start.
Happy to start. Yeah. So we started off with STEPN, right? I think people know us with how to really align the blockchain-based incentive with people's user behavior. And I think that's like something that we will continue to carry on by designing the right mechanism to really incentivize people to do things with blockchain as well as the gamified behavior. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that we do believe that in crypto games or Web3 games, you need to own the consumer. That means like you have to D2C, like direct to customer. With that being said, you have to be the publisher and the developer yourself. That's why we are being a studio ourselves rather than say like we start with the product and then later on become a platform. We have to do both. I think that's like probably the two parts I would like to mention.
Okay. So Sascha, like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I guess what's unique, I think like if anyone has seen the cards from Parallel, like a lot of the greatest kind of games and films our artists work on, I think they stand out pretty uniquely. Obviously, the trading card genre has traditionally been dominated by fantasy. We're more like a space card game is kind of the joke. But obviously, the players are able to own their cards, right? I think trading card games is a bit of a misnomer now. Like if you played Hearthstone or Magic Arena, you don't own the cards. And I think what we're really doing that's different is kind of bringing new mechanics to the game, bringing tradability back to the game, and allowing Web 2 and Web 3 players, so traditional gamers and Web 3 gamers, to meet on the battlefield and be very competitive in playing our game.
Okay.
And about us, so our mission has always been like, how do we empower anyone to become a creator? That journey actually started in 2011 on mobile, back then without blockchain or NFTs, just like a game in 2D on smartphone where you could create games by the touch of your fingers. Very intuitive, very accessible. It became a quick success. We had 40 million downloads over time, 70 million player creation in a gallery where others can access the content. But also we find that like creators needed more than just fame and recognition to keep being engaged on the platform, as we were losing our best creator over like the months or the years. So we jumped quite early on in blockchain and NFT, finding like first CryptoKitties as the first game, and we say, maybe we can do better than virtual cats with that technology and enable anyone to create their own content, own it, monetize it. So blockchain and NFT came as a solution toward like empowering creators and let them monetize user-generated content. Fast forward, after 5 years, Sandbox count now over 5 million users with the wallet. We have partnered with more than 400 global brands. We have presence in 10 different countries around the world. And we've grown a pretty large ecosystem that counts now 230 studios who are building on virtual land on our platform as we continue to sell new neighborhoods of land and develop, curate brands and develop new forms of experience that are avatar-centric.
Sounds good. So, Sebastien, you have been this space for like 4 years, 5 years. So you keep building a lot of stuff. So, what do you see? Any the new users behavior? You can share any takeaways to the audience.
Yes. First thing is, I think like we're seeing still a lot of experimentation, and I still consider this is an early phase of adoption. Specifically, when I look back at like the video game industry, smartphone, tablets, we haven't found like the perfect business model yet that will apply to blockchain games. We've gone through various iterations. 2020, 2021 was essentially the year of like play to earn. Around 2018, 2019, what was quite trendy was like to do a pre-sale of your digital asset as NFT, try to sell out everything at the beginning and then continue to live on without more supply. And today there's some change towards those aspects where we are going more to like skill-based, like we are seeing more competitive aspect where all the players are entering leaderboards and only the top players will be winning reward as they engage. NFTs have much more immediate utility, and the game that launched tend to have already a playable product before they actually even introduce like a digital asset NFT that they would sell. Because like also the market has grown more mature, users are becoming less impatient, and they expect more utility directly from the content that they're acquiring. I still believe that one of the core incentives around Web3 is to bring back power in the hands of players and in the hands of creators who contribute to like the success of those games. So community-driven incentives are still essential, and we're seeing still important innovation and contribution by communities, but still around like games that are solid gameplay, solid MVP in place, and teams that are more experienced as they develop those games and iterate fast over it.
Got it. Mable, Stefan already onboarded millions users. So what can you see from those millions users? What the users like to play on your application?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned about the like binding really the blockchain-based incentives with user behavior. I think that is something that is quite unique to blockchain games per se. We definitely are seeing quite a few other peers that were trying to do, say like some of the mobile game, they would just do the game itself like standalone without any blockchain element, and then having on top of it, like you have an NFT trading on top, right? That could be one approach, but in our opinion, really we believe that having the token incentive weaved into guiding user behaviors and also adding a bunch of syncs that you wanted to guide them to kind of do certain interesting gamified tasks, right? To your point, skill-based or quest-related things, that's something can be done quite well related to, highly relevant to why we're using blockchain today. So I think like that's absolutely number one. That's how we also initially bootstrap STEPN. However, I think the next step is about how you bring externality into it, right? Obviously, people generate health and happiness as they are also doing a lot of the offline social, like through knowing each other online. But I think at the same time, like later on, we also need to add like some of the skins, for example, like that's like some of the partnership that we've been doing with a lot of the IPs. For example, the Japanese one, I think last time we were in Tokyo, and then that was like right after we announced the partnership with Ghost in the Shell. So I think a lot of the non-native users, they are very into this type of things, and I think that can really bring a lot more users external to what we already have, like which is like relatively small group who would be interested in coming into the space and experience, how you can leverage certain user like blockchain-based incentive to guide the behavior. So yeah.
Got it. Sascha, you're targeting more like very heavy gamer because
Yeah,
TCG
competitive.
sector is, yeah.
I think they're saying the same thing I'm saying. I think we're all talking about skill. I think we're talking about meeting gamers where they are. I think we're talking about understanding the economies of games. Like we have something called a Paragon, which is like a leader for your parallel, which is like a faction in our world, and like Paragon skins, Paragon emotes. So I think we're talking about understanding game economies. I think we're talking about meeting customers where they are and demonstrating value by including blockchain to do uniquely possible things. So I think in our game, obviously outside of the cards, there's a number of cosmetics, there's a number of other things that we're working on that are the public is probably aware of if they follow us on Twitter. But yeah, I think what's happening is there obviously is some sentiment towards, I think we've got to be super transparent and think about mass market. There is obviously some sentiment towards blockchain that isn't entirely positive from a gamer side. And I think what we're seeing is blockchain games in particular, adapt and learn as to what's working and what's not, and start to design solutions whereby a person who's a traditional gamer can come into the ecosystem, play, and maybe earn a card and choose to mint it or choose not to mint it in our case, or understand the value of a transferable or tradable Paragon skin or a Paragon emote. But I think we're actually all saying the same thing, just maybe in the context of different products.
Yeah, I totally agree. And still very crypto native or into crypto games, but new users not still out there. So what's your strategy to onboard the new user, especially like gamer, Web2 user, not just crypto natives?
Yeah, go ahead if you want.
Go for it.
Well, I think there's something to take into account that is we're not necessarily trying to convert existing gamers to play new games. Every time I look at the evolution of technology and gaming, when you launch a new platform, a new console, you define a new format of entertainment, new controls, new way to interact. This allows to create games that do not exist on other platforms, that bring wider audience, more casual, more adult, etc. We've seen that with from the 3DS to the Switch to the Wii U to smartphones, always enlarge the market. We see the same at Sandbox. Basically, the way you play an experience in Sandbox, you have an avatar, it is avatar-centric. It's the first social experience where you interact with other users, you explore, you discover, and then there are quests and gamification and sometimes multiplayer, racing, parkour, etc., and leaderboard. But I wouldn't say it looks like a traditional game from whatever I've played for 15 years, and yet we're able to bring new users who are not accustomed to that kind of gameplay and can get hooked because of that. Our strategy has been very clear. We want to, we have two aspects. One is the user-generated content. I believe the future of gaming is around allowing people to create their own characters, their own level, their own world, and extend the life of their favorite game. And UGC is an essential part. 99% of the content of the metaverse will be UGC. And on the other side is onboarding users from the favorite brands wherever they are in the world. So when I mentioned 400 brands in the world, they are top IPs from Japan, like Toei Animation, Captain Tsubasa, Fist of the North Star, but also from Korea, from China, or from the US. And those brands, those IPs, they appeal to local population who then get attracted to play those experiences, participate, create their own experience by mixing and remixing content, and explore other content as well from the rest of the world. So we bring local content toward global, and we define a platform where the audience are truly global. 40% of our users are in Asia, 30% in Europe, 30% North and South America, which is something that's not really typical when you look at how traditional game approach or traditional UGC platform approach it, always starting let's grow big in the US first, and then maybe later we'll expand into other regional markets.
Yeah, I resonate. Korea, there are so many creators. The first visit
Last
was
week.
Korea, yeah.
Last week in
I
Korea.
think that can totally make sense. They can bring a lot of retail users. So, Sascha?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think so Parallel is a bit different. You actually don't need to own any cards. It's a free-to-play game. You don't need to have a wallet. You can literally just go in and play. And I think this is it's a very fun and competitive game, and this is what's worked for us, is that people come into the game, they're just like you could in Hearthstone and Magic, they're able to just grind their way, play the game, and enjoy it. And as they enjoy the game, they're over time met with these opportunities. And those opportunities are, if you win a ranked match at Parallel, and you have a 40-card deck, depending on the number of cards in your deck, you win the ERC 20 Prime. And so it's a competitive and skill-based kind of ranked ladder that people are fighting over to win this ERC 20, but Prime. But beyond that, like you have this battle pass, just like you would have in any other traditional game, you can grind. And in some of those opportunities, if you unlock a card in a battle pass, it says, do you want to mint it or not? And so if you don't mint it, you might watch that card once that season's over and say, hey, I should have minted it because I'm watching people trade this card and I could have used it to play the game more that I'm already enjoying and earn rewards and use that reward to buy more cosmetics for myself or buy more cards. And so I think, the way we approach it is like, we want people to I think we want to understand where consumers are today from a gaming standpoint and say, if you want to play a great game, you want to compete, it doesn't matter if you're coming at it from Web 2, it doesn't matter if you're coming at it from Web 3 or whatever you want to call it, traditional gaming or crypto gaming. What matters is that it's a really fun game and that it's competitive, and if you enjoy it and you fall in love with the game, then you're probably going to want to participate in the ecosystem. And our job is to create opportunities for you to do that and present them in ways that are helpful in translating why it's beneficial to use blockchain. And the answer typically is scarcity. We're provable scarcity on chain. And like this is, for the most part, quite absent from a trading card game. They should all be called collectible card games, not trading card games, but we do still refer to them like that. But like scarcity is completely absent. Like you really are, be very hard pressed to understand or cite any edition size of a card from, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge collector of these things, I love them, but like Pokemon, Magic, all the modern sets, like there's really no sense of scarcity around how many cards actually exist from any of these recent sets. And so that is absent from card games, as of recent, and really what blockchain does is fundamentally bring that back to digital card games and make them tradable.
Yeah. Always remind me, I was playing with a Michael Jordan card when I was young. Yeah, so Mable, what's your thought?
Yeah, in addition to the other two panelists, I think a few things that we've done was quite unique. First of all, I think like we highly rely on our real human referral. So what it means is like we didn't do anything incentivized. What it is like there's two parts mainly. One is that we have this non-incentivized referral code system where people are really sharing not because they want to get rewards or anything, but rather because they enjoy the product and then they felt like, oh, I gain health or I gain from this good habit formation. So I would like to invite my friends and family. With that, actually these new people got on board. Like the person who invited them will teach them hand by hand that how do you, think about seed phrases. Like with STEPN, we still have the seed phrases and everything. And then like teach them how you can buy tokens, etc. Right? That's like one part. The other part about this real human referral comes from our ambassador program, where we recruited a lot of people, not the crypto native KOLs, but rather it's like a lot of content producers on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, whatever, but they're like in the past, they were non-Web3 native users. And these people actually generated a lot of interesting content to attract other people to come over. And then they also have regional offline events. And that really kind of I know this is like not very scalable, it sounds like, but when like Paul Graham used to say like, do things don't scale, and I see absolutely the kind of a fit here. I think in addition to what I just mentioned, I think another important case is that we realized that seed phrases is really, really hard for people. So we were looking into EIP 4337 for a new game. So with smart contract wallet, or it's not a full-blown smart contract wallet, but it does have the module of gas prepayment and everything. So people actually could enjoy, not having the need to remember, like write down their seed phrases like STEPN did. And then they also don't have to worry about like knowing which gas token it is versus like GMT or whatever in-game token. So I think that's also another thing that we wanted to do. Last but not least, I wanted to mention the Apple Pay integration that we had. So what we did with Apple Pay is not like, we never sell any STEPN shoes in the past. So it's always P2P trading. So what essentially we were doing with Apple Pay is that while you're selling, you're listing with like a GMT price with your sneakers. The seller is actually receiving GMT, but the buyers with pay, obviously you have to pay the 30% Apple tax. But then, like once you buy with Apple Pay, you can essentially buy with fiat, with your credit card, with X and Y and Z. And then on the other hand, the seller still receives GMT. So we are in the middle, like doing that. It's heavy, but I think it's worth it because obviously a lot of people who in the past cannot enjoy the marketplace inside Apple, now they can enjoy that. So I think that's another point of user onboarding.
Yeah, I was very surprised that, like, you know, around us, even the Web2 gamers, all like walking around with a stable application and getting a GMT token. So yeah, I think really good move. So next question is like, you know, still there's a lot of limitations. So blockchain with integration with the blockchain, still the users are a little bit hard to get in. So what the blockchain space, I mean, application have to improve in terms of like technology-wise, also user behavior-wise. What's your thought, Sebastien?
So definitely one point that's been mentioned is like the accessibility of like creating a wallet for the first time, interacting with it. I think like as a game developer, a creator of a decentralized application, you choose a wallet, you choose a blockchain, but you don't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel. So you try also to rely on the other developers that participate to the network, to the ecosystem, to solve those solutions rather than yourself. So we built originally on Ethereum, then we moved on Polygon, because those things existed. OpenSea existed, MetaMask existed, wallets have been improving over time there. And like if you start today in blockchain gaming, like there's plenty more solutions available from Avalanche, Mutable, Sui, etc., which are much mature already and provide all those solutions. I think like what people often forget as well about blockchain gaming is like the ethos of like Web3. Web3 is bringing back the power in the hand of the player, is very community driven. And unlike what we've seen in Web2, like we're not competing with each other when we work on game. Actually, like we are supporting each other by growing the ecosystem, attracting players. And there is a network effect that happens when another game becomes successful. They bring more users to the network who have their wallet. Those users can actually enter and play and interact in other applications and game with their digital asset, whether their cards, their shoes, or their avatars. And something that worked really well for Sandbox is when we enable any of like the 50 most popular NFT collection to become playable in Sandbox. It actually benefited both to the community to attract some users from Sandbox itself, and vice versa. It brought a lot more users from those community to start playing in the metaverse with an NFT that instead of being just a 2D image became a 3D character thanks to interoperability. So sometimes it's also about like understanding like this idea of collaborating, working together, not necessarily always only solving the UX problem, but trying to see how do we get players where they already are, where they are already using and interacting with blockchain, but interest them to play in or to interact in a different way, continuously adding value in a win-win situation.
Yeah, I think we're arriving at a place where, like, with L2s and app chains, I think we're arriving at a place where like the throughput problem is not an issue. I think you can scale a game to like almost like a traditional game and decide what's going to be on chain that's relevant data to have on chain versus not, and not have a throughput issue. So I think like we're at a place now where we're ready for good games, like really good games. And when I say good game is like something that's really fun that any traditional gamer would say, like, that's awesome and I'm enjoying this and I want to keep playing it. I want to stay up all night playing this game. And that's what we're after. I think obviously we have technical limit. I think there's still some usability opportunities, let's call them, around wallets. And I think you can obfuscate things by having non-custodial vault contracts, and you can have just different ways to handle things. But I think inevitably your objective, like the technology is now there, and inevitably your objective is to again, make it very clearly demonstrated what the value of the technology is, and then after that value is clear to the consumer or to the player of your game, then educate them to understand what the benefits of this technology is and how they can become more involved and more in control. I think maybe the same way we could think of not your keys, not your coins, not your keys, not your cards, if it's in a custodial contract. But to begin to interact with the customer that way, and they'll see that these cards, maybe what they got a really rare card and it's gone up in value, and now they have an incentive to take that card and put it onto OpenSea, which means that they're going to have to start interacting with wallets. They're going to have to start interacting with, third-party applications like marketplaces if you're not running your own native marketplace. But I think the message I would leave people with is we're finally arriving at a place where the throughput problem is not an issue for at-scale games, especially if you're having some level of discretion around what you're actually putting on chain versus what you're not. Not everything in games needs to be on chain, in my personal opinion. But I think it depends on the game you're building, I should say, actually. But generally speaking, I think there's still lots of room for opportunity to improve from a usability and customer experience standpoint, particularly at the wallet level and having custody of your cards or whatever assets you're playing with. And probably, there are some solutions and kind of leaps forward that have been taken in this space around transactions on networks and having, gas fees be, not a prohibitive function within moving assets on chain. So there's a couple things we have to work on, but I think we're in the right direction, and I think we're starting to see we're starting to yield the results of a lot of people's effort from an infrastructure standpoint, and I think that's going to be particularly good for gaming.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about this question with our own experience, very recently. So we were actually choosing the settlement blockchain for our new game. It's an SLG. Well, it's not a traditional SLG, but we just call it SLG. And then, there's a few things that really you have to kind of think about and trade off, right? You guys said app chain. So app chain is obviously performance-wise is great, but then you lost the global state, obviously, for a lot of the other L1s, right? Even for L2, you kind of lost that, but it's still not as much as the app chain you lost that. So if you want to keep the global state, then you would have to kind of sacrifice some of the performance, and then with a lot of the L2 currently, it's still highly contingent on Ethereum's performance. So I think this is not something that I have a solution yet, but obviously we were talking about today, say Polygon, they were trying to do the Polygon 2.0 where they want a ZK Validium and then with each essentially one application running one rollups, and then with even if let's say you run a rollup yourself and then you have the ZK proof and everything, you can essentially even just decide to offer gasless chain. Because obviously if you are the operator of the rollup, then you don't have to charge and this and that, right? There's a lot of this kind of interesting things that we are observing. But still, when it comes to to your point, whether there's a high frequency transaction that's happening, which parts goes on chain, which part can be sacrificed? Is there a middle ground, right? In the past, we will say we probably just put all of these centralized, but now maybe you can just put it in a contract and let user deposit into the contract, and then they can just leverage the staked token per se in game and they can spend it, but then without that thing specifically happening real time on chain. That's one solution. We are exactly adopting this approach for our new game. So basically if you mint a new asset that's really core, then you make it immediately on chain versus some of the high frequency spending you can put it with the stake token. So I think we are right now at a turning point of the history where a lot of the applications are really actually thinking about how we can align the blockchain use cases with a lot of these incentives and this and that. And then I think the next step will be quite interesting for the next 1 or 2 years with all the roll-ups, solutions going up, and also some of the other solutions that even Cosmos were offering. You are seeing a lot of the app chains per se on Cosmos. So we're definitely interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your insights, and it will be very helpful for the audience. And before wrapping up, last question is so now Singapore is kind of center of Asia, and also we talk about TOKEN2049 is getting bigger than consensus, I guess. So what's your thought about no, what's your plan for the Asian market expansion, and what's your sneak peek of your product? Please share. So Mable, we can start.
I can start. Thank you. Yeah. I don't think like so. We actually base here. Like half our team is actually in East Asia, and then the rest is like either Europe or Australia. So we actually are more local. And then what we've been seeing is that obviously, first of all, like Japan is a really large market. We've talked about it a lot, and then we benefited a lot from that as well. Like both on the IP level as well as the government level, it's really compliant, regulatory friendly these days. Another observation that we are seeing is that because like we also run our own venture fund from our own treasury, so we're seeing a lot of builders coming out of the great studios from China, Greater China, right? As well as like the large companies like Tencent, like NetEase. There's a batch of talents that are coming out who are trying to seek for, obviously adventurous kind of project. And then their experience running large scale games as well as like some sort of social apps or like marketplace, it was quite fascinating. So I think like in terms of that, like we are also trying to capture some of those alpha through investing in some of them and also working with them through synergy exploration. I think from not just the East Asian perspective, right? Like from also like Southeast Asia, we are also seeing a lot more like guild-based kind of exploration from some of the other local DAOs. And I think those are highly relevant to how these people are trying to make a living. Not saying that like you have to adopt like X to earn or whatever, but definitely with the integration of smart contract wallet and everything, I think there's a lot of things that people can actually do with getting payment through on-chain and just spend it through US dollar instead of holding a local currency. I know it's a little bit far-stretched, but I think these are some of the observations that we are seeing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as a trading card game, I think Japan's like a very critical market. I think a lot of great, there's a huge community of players in like Asian markets for just trading cards in general and games in general, right? I think like we've seen a massive gaming community in Korea, enormous gaming community in Japan. I think the thing we focus on most is distribution, right? I think because we kind of fit into this category of like, if you saw Parallel, if any of you have seen Parallel, like you'd look at it and be like, this game looks really sick, like just like any traditional video game looks. And I think like because of our ability to allow anyone who is who doesn't it doesn't have a wallet, doesn't have crypto to play the game, it allows us distribution opportunities and partnership opportunities to reach gamers where they are today. And so I think that's where I would focus is looking at who has the greatest reach within which market that you want to be in, and what does an arrangement look like whereby gamers who enjoy these types of games can be a part of your ecosystem, and what does the conversion look like over time for them going from a traditional game to being a participant and an owner of a piece of the network. And that to me looks like owning cards, owning Prime, winning it from competitive play. I think also tournaments are a massive thing. Streamers, that was a huge piece of, a part of how games are distributed. People mostly learn about games from either their friends or from Twitch or YouTube. And I think, so these are all things that we're factoring into where we want to grow and how we want to grow. And I mean, we're still in closed beta, and obviously, in our game, people have played 300,000 games of Parallel in 38 days. So and each game takes like 10 minutes. So people are ferociously playing this game. And so I think we've got something that's really special and we know it. And I think we want to be really careful with who we work with and how we enter different markets. And I think that what precludes that to be able to do it correctly is two things: translation, localization of language, and stability of servers. For scale. And I think that's something that no one really talks about, is a lot of the expertise around games, and one of the hardest parts if you're building a Unity game or an Unreal, a UE5 game, is the server scalability. And so I think those two things are what we want to solve first, and then work towards distribution via partners in Asia.
That's good.
First you have to take in consideration Sandbox is not a game, it's a platform. And when we started fundraising for Sandbox in 2018, there was something that really already inclined us toward Asia. Our first investors, after pitching 100 different investors around the world and getting no each time, the first who stepped in was Hashed in Korea. And then the second that stepped in was Square Enix in Japan. And after came a global fund from Singapore and ultimately Animoca in Hong Kong. So that really led us to think, maybe there is something in Asia that we should look more than, because I come from a background in mobile gaming, San Francisco, Silicon Valley kind of investors, focusing on those countries. So that's what we've done. We started to set up a team in Korea. Back then it was just one person. Today we have offices across almost all Asia, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Thailand, Singapore, and also India and Turkey through there. And it represents more than 40% of the activities in Sandbox. And we're not looking only at players in case of Sandbox. We're looking, every time we look at a market, we look first at other creators. Like, do they have artists or an industry, or people who can become, can create experiences or are already in the game industry and can move from other platforms to Sandbox. We look at brands. Are there like interesting IPs, content that are more regional but have the potential to grow globally? And we can help to grow globally. Are there players, of course, and are there like investors, people who understand what the metaverse is about? Because it is a virtual world. There is a virtual map. Virtual map means like there is land. Land is like virtual real estate. And Asia gets it. They understand the value of virtual real estate much more than other territories. And that's why like we've seen so much growth and, in this region of the world. And yet you have to consider as well, like you mentioned, Sandbox is, we're still in beta as well. Actually, we are even in alpha. We opened the publishing just 2 months ago to the creators, more than 24,000 landowners. We had, over the past 12 months, 1 million unique players who explored, and Sandbox is only on PC and Mac. We haven't yet opened mobile. So I still believe that we have that capacity to bring many more creators and many more users, as next year we will be on mobile as well. And so that's one of the reasons, like being 1 week in Korea with Korea Blockchain Week, being here in Singapore and spending a lot of time in Asia will continue to help grow the Sandbox and the blockchain gaming space in general.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughtful opinion and insights, and thank you for hearing our discussion. Thank you.